Hello everyone and welcome back. We're going to need a couple of props today, a rolled up towel or blanket and a block. Now if you don't have a block, you can always just use a stack of books or even a pillow or a couple of pillows. Take some time to gather those things, and once you have your rolled up blanket, let's bring it to the middle of the mat. We're going to be placing right about the navel on top of this blanket, and we're going to find out very quickly if we have too thick of a roll. What we're going for is some deep hip flexor opening here and a muscle that is commonly just called the psoas. It's actually a series of muscles and is even used in conjunction with the iliacus. They both run down together across the front of the hips on both sides and connect to our femurs, our thigh bones. But they're deep in the body, so pressure like this, even with a thinly rolled blanket, can be enough. Once we find that belly button on the blanket roll at a manageable height, we start to release the legs. We lower the upper body down if we haven't already, and do our best to release the arms. Probably an uncomfortable sensation, it almost always is. If you don't feel anything here, let's take a second to either find something a little bit larger to place under the navel, or to just roll a bigger roll out of our blanket or our towel. When we feel like we need some alleviation, some reprieve from the pressure that we're experiencing, give yourself a big deep inhale and really fill the belly. Notice that release happening as we engage the core just a little bit here. And then on that exhale is when we find even more sensation, letting the weight of the body and the blanket do the work here. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of a break in that part of the body. Start to wiggle the legs toward the back of the mat, finding the blanket up closer to the ribs. If we have it rolled such a way, we will feel it where the ribs begin to come in toward the sternum. In the middle of the blanket is still underneath that point, still in the soft spot of the torso. Similar sensation, just different part of the body. Giving ourselves the break that we need with deep inhales, and then easing back in on those exhales. It's a deep release here. Keep the legs soft, keep the arms soft. See if you can just lie completely flat and use the breathing to move in and out of sensation here. Soften the glutes, those big strong muscles, soften the arms. Very gently we can begin to transition. This time, rolling forward. I like to bring hands underneath the shoulders here to help lift the upper body. And then instead of moving the body too much, I'm just going to shift my rolled up towel underneath the navel here, but above the hips, maybe even right at the very top of the hip bones underneath the belly button. Just getting full length release here. We have a gratitude practice. Now is a great time to begin to think of things that we appreciate in our lives. They could be things about ourselves that we're grateful for. Could be things that we have. or other people that are in our lives right now. When we have this intense sensation, it's nice to remember that not everything else is this way. Even other parts of the body, like the legs, the feet, the hands, the eyes, can all be soft and relaxed here. Perhaps just even being grateful for this moment, being able to practice in our own little world. We'll bring the hands underneath the shoulders here and just gently push the upper body up. Option for a nice back bend here. It can feel good to let the head hang back. We'll keep coming up and we're just going to take the knees wide. I like to bring the big toes together here, sink the hips onto the heels, bring the forehead down, maybe onto that blanket or towel to support the head. Let's take a child's pose. Sometimes we can feel the heartbeat in the abdomen, near the navel, in the middle of the ribs, and even down just above the hips when we have all of this pressure from the blanket. So really giving ourselves some grace, knowing that it could have been an intense sensation, but there's no judgment here. If there are negative thoughts, they can leave just as easily as they came. We continue to give ourselves this time. When we're ready, we can bring hands under the shoulders. We can begin to lengthen the arms, just bringing the upper body upright. Option for organic movement, anything that feels nice, a little shimmying of the shoulders here maybe. We're going to find our block. For this next pose, we're going to work our way into a kneeling position. The hips will be on the block. We're going to do two sides here, so pick your favorite. Send one leg out nice and long, and then the other foot will be tucked back by the hip of that same side, on the outside of the hip, on the outside of the block. We may feel comfortable just leaving the arms long here, with the upper body upright. Coming into this half hero's pose, reclined, Ardha Supta Virasana. More hip flexor opening, more psoas stretch. Continuing to lengthen these muscles that we've been putting the pressure on during that beginning release. If you've been here before, or as we continue in this side and you feel more and more open, you can drop down to the forearms if you haven't already. You may even be able to allow the shoulders to come down to the floor and box the arms up overhead or reach the arms away from the body. Be mindful of the front knee here. Be mindful of any pain-like sensations, any stabbing, any burning, anything like that. And if we feel it, we don't jolt ourselves out. We just slowly begin to work our way back into a more manageable position. It's already time to come out. We're going to roll to the opposite side of the bent leg and just let that leg free itself, roll all the way over to the side, very slowly coming up, bending the other leg, bringing that foot to the outside of the same side hip. Opposite leg is long, and we can just stay nice and tall here. We can keep the arms long. Maybe we're able to walk the hands a little farther behind us. Keep the chest lifted here. Option to come down onto those forearms, keeping the elbows underneath the shoulders, and just resituating as we do. The block makes this a little more intense, but it also helps the bent leg knee and can make the pose more accessible. It is a different side, so don't feel bad if you can't come all the way down here if you did on the other side. We hold experiences in the body in different places and different sides. We may even be reminded of an event that's happened in the past. So if you're feeling that right now, come back to your breathing, stay where you can, take deep inhales and long, slow exhales. Keep the breath going here. And then it's already time to come out, rolling over onto the side of the straight leg. Let the bent leg free itself. Slowly we're going to work our way up just onto one hip. I'm going to reposition our block or our books or our pillow or pillows, whatever we're using here. We're going to sit the hips up on top of the block again, but this time lying the upper body all of the way back, keeping knees bent and feet on the floor. Coming into a nice supported bridge pose here. Keeping the shoulder blades tucked onto the back. Making sure we have space between the hips and the shoulders. You may want to walk the shoulders away from hips here and then gently lift the head to make sure the neck feels long. We're just going to settle into a very passive stretch. I like to take the feet to the edges of the mat and let my knees fall into one another. Let the palms face the ceiling, or we've had a lot of experience here. It could feel really nice to bring hands to the belly, that abdominal cavity. One hand or hands may want to come to the heart as well. Just bringing them someplace comfortable on the body. Coming back to a nice consistent breathing. Keeping it in through the nose and out through the nose. We have the option for more experience and sensation here by sliding one heel away from the body, getting long in one leg. Similar sensation to that half heroes pose. But this time we can also slide the other leg long, and we come into a slightly deeper version of this supported bridge pose. And I even like to take that rolled up blanket that I have, place it right underneath the neck, not the head. We want it to support the curve of the cervical spine. So right under the neck, let the head hang down over the edge. Maybe the head touches the floor. And we just release here. Let the jaw relax, low teeth separate from upper. Let the eyes soften, even if they're closed. Release any squinting. The hands are soft, whether they're on the floor or the body. It's okay if the thighs feel like they need to work. Here, we do our best to allow them to release. Training the body to cease muscular contraction when we want. As long as we stay still here, we're doing it. Let the block do the work. Let the position of the body do the work. And breathe. When we're ready to come out, we can begin to slide one heel toward the hips, planting the foot firmly on the floor, using that support to slide the other heel closer to the hips. Both feet back on the mat now, lifting the hips just enough to release the block, the books, the pillows, and find the whole upper body down on the floor, lengthening legs out long again. Nice and wide, really taking up space here. The feet can come off the mat, the hands can come off the mat. May also feel nice to bring hands to the low belly, to that abdominal cavity of the upper body. Just helping build our awareness of these deep, hip flexor muscles. We'd like to end the practice together. We can bring hands together, bringing thumbs to the forehead, gently sliding them down over the bridge of the nose, touching the lips, maybe the throat, finding them at heart center, taking a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale. Thank you for participating. Namaste.